All right, so with our handsome Mr. T, ready, Tucker? We'll do a little find it. He says, what are my friends doing? So with Mr. T, ready, find it. We're just going to warm up with some typical little find it's, get him out and about, wiggling and moving. So I know you had mentioned that sometimes when he's trying to greet some of your kids, he's a bit, obviously typical puppy, a little bit of a land shark, and he gets a little too rambunctious. So some of my favorite exercises to sometimes have littles do are actually the find its. It can be really nice because a lot of times as the puppies want to go engage, the littles don't have to use their hands to feed the food since it is being fed to the floor. Your other option too is as he comes into your space and he offers a great behavior, you go, yes, and then toss the food. So your puppy then starts to associate coming near someone with snacks or a little one and then offering either stationary or all four on the floor. So right here, as he goes and does a beautiful job standing near me, I would maybe typically mark that moment with a little yes and then feed him for that. So right here, yes, and then feed away. This can be immensely helpful for puppies. Obviously, we see that we do these skills with a lot of the beauties in class. Yes. But the benefit of this behavior is it gives your puppy a way to create some movement. It also helps them reorient, yes, back to you. And the moment he offers either all four on the floor or a sitting position, whatever you prefer, excuse me, or whatever's easiest for him when he first starts. Nice. Right here, yes. So, what he's being sometimes fed for as well is when he gives me eyeballs. So when he gives me some nice check-ins or he offers a beautiful little moment where he looks at me, yes, I'm a feed for a handsome guy. He's like, where'd it go? So I'm also using a little bit of his kibble mixed with some of his training treats. I'm also ripping up his treats into itty bitty little pieces. Ready, find it. If, let's say, sometimes I'm just practicing find its, I'll go ahead and tell him to go find it. If your puppy's not as keen in finding the snacks, I sometimes like to show it to his little sniffer and then do a little find it so he almost sees where I'm tossing the item. So the benefit of doing some of these skills, yes, with a little, is a lot of times puppies do get excited for food and they sometimes can get a little mouthy. I would recommend to, if littles don't love the feel of the saliva or even those piranha baby teeth in the beginning, even though he doesn't mean to, he does at times use them because he's exploring his world and he's working it the way every puppy would with that lovely mouth of his. So the other option is to feed flat palm. So again, your puppy is then taking the food out of your flat palm as if he was livestock, so like a cow or a horse. So if littles do tend to by accident use their fingers, or so do we, ready? So if he's a little excited, all four on the floor, yes. If sometimes he's way too excited, remember that you're not feeding for the jumping, you're trying to redirect the handsome guy into doing another skill instead. So if let's say sometimes he's a little bit too eager, I do like to do bigger find it, so multiple snacks are released onto the floor so that way your babe has more time to diffuse that energy onto the ground versus you or someone else as a target. So with the handsome guy right now working some of these little find its, it gives him a little extra time to decompress. Remember that when your babe is foraging, sniffing, or again, finding goodies or even odors, it's going to help lower their heart rate, raise serotonin and dopamine, while also lowering stress hormones like cortisol. So right now he's doing a real nice job. So let's say, for example, we're going to work with a gentle or easy. You can, for example, put the food in your hand. I would recommend that if he's very much so a foodie, is to start off with food like his kibble or something that's not as high value as, like, say, training treats could be more exciting. Right there, I'm just going to feed him for that because that was really pretty. So anytime your babe offers you some gorgeous behavior or skills, I would highly recommend to have a couple treat stations. I've mentioned treat stations in a few other previous videos. So treat stations are, just to reiterate, where you have a few Tupperware containers or sort of treat holders, and you would have kibble mixed with training treats, mixed with a few other varieties of items that can be stay, again, room temperature and don't have to be refrigerated. And you could then capture moments throughout the day where your babe was doing really well or help them be successful by reorienting them onto a better skill. So the air is just coming back on, the lovely heat is poking on, so it's a little noisy. He doesn't seem to care, which is great. So, but if you're finding he is eating your fingers, I would recommend, again, flat palm, like we mentioned earlier, like livestock. Or, for example, you could work with gentle or easy, which is the cue to be a little softer with your mouth. So I sometimes like to take, let's say, for example, kibble or something of lower value, put it in my hand, close my hand around it, and I normally like to tuck my thumb in so the puppies don't have a finger to grab. And then from here, I might go, ready, Tucker? And of course, he found one of his chews, which is fine. So I might show him my hand. He's like, Lady, I'm distracted now. He says, I'm just going to relax. So if your babe has another agenda, so just like I mentioned earlier for Mr. Z, I do tend to have a few chew items out and available for the babes so they have something to work on if they need a little breather. So I'm actually, of course, I just realized I'm out of cough drops and my throat has been a bit tickly. So he's going to enjoy that hoof for a second. I'm just going to quickly grab a drink. I'm so sorry. And then I'm going to also grab a few cough drops. You can never stay too hydrated, right? This is whatever you want, crazy. So if sometimes I'm going to plop this where I can easily reach it. Ready, find it. I'm going to grab just a few of those quick little cough drops from my bag. And I'm so sorry that I'm taking a pause mid-film. Ready? I thought I was ready to go and I completely forgot my cough drops. And now the other wilds say, don't forget about me. So sorry about the interruption. I'm almost done. So Mr. Handsome says, don't forget about me too. So if sometimes you're getting what some people would call this, like at times demand barking, where they're almost trying to get your attention back on them, I like to see more so consider it like not attention seeking, but for example, connection seeking. So sometimes your puppy is wondering like, why are you over there versus here with me? So it could also be a little bit where I'm a little stressed out or a little confused. So remember that we don't want to scold our puppies for making mistakes in our very weird but human-centric world, but instead think, what would I rather have my puppy do instead? So now he's going back to his chew item, which is great. So it's just a little hoof that I had stuffed some of his treats into a little bit. I love how he like has to like shake his head to like, take it down. So right here, this is adorable. So he's taking a little moment to chew. So I would highly recommend, we're going to get into the topic of gentle while taking food in just a second. But also, I know you mentioned your littles are sometimes getting bombarded by this beautiful boy. So I would highly recommend, when in doubt, use your leash like training wheels in the home. So if he doesn't quite know how to do something, don't let him by mistake go and chase or go after the littles, even if he's being sweet about it. Like we mentioned, those piranha teeth don't feel so good while he's working those puppy skills. So using your gear in the home could be very helpful, making sure that he has appropriate chew items. And I know we mentioned this last week, or the week before, because of Thanksgiving, we had a break off. But make sure he's getting enough rest, because if a lot of times puppies are not getting enough downtime to sleep, they become immensely wild and sometimes a little bit more deranged than usual in the sweetest way possible. So right here, I know we did a little bit with the treat and retreat with Mr. Handsome earlier, Mr. Z. Let's say, for example, I know he's loving his hoof right now, but let's say I want to go ahead and I want to work a few other skills. I might see if I can get Mr. Handsome to do a little find it, and get him to redirect. He's like, no, this hoof is delicious. So if he doesn't quite do it the first time, notice how I don't panic and just instantly go to try to take it from him. I let him figure out the game. So ready? We might go, Teddy. Ready? Tucker? Sorry, I had a Teddy earlier and my brain just melted. So I'm going to take the item. We're going to move it out of range. We'll use it in a little bit. So I wouldn't want to go right into swiping it from him or even doing an exchange right by his nose. View it almost like you're about to have your really yummy dessert, and someone comes over and they distract you with like a tortilla chip and then they take your dessert away. You may not want to actually have them come nearby again as an exchange for a tortilla chip versus your dessert. So even though that thing was really exciting, me going and just instantly taking it away could potentially create some confusion and some conflict. So that's where you'll see I do find it's off to the side to create more of a buffer. And I tend to offer find it's that are typically pretty delicious. Oh my goodness, chewing's optional. Because if, let's say, I always exchange for a lower quality item, he might start to catch on, be like, you know what, every time you come near me, the cooler thing I had is gone. And now I've just been given this sort of nonchalant prize at the end. So let's say we're going to go back to that gentle. I put my hand and close it around my snack. I'm going to go gentle or easy. And then if he licks, I would go yes and open and feed him the snack. So I normally close my fist around it. I offer the other side of my hand where there's none, like the opposite of your palm. And I'd go gentle, and if he's licking or nosing, I go ahead and open and give him that snack. So again, gentle. Nice. And then we feed. So if he was using teeth and getting a little too mouthy, I might pull my hand away and just start again. or that could be also a window into how comfortable he might be. So if he is overtired, if he's overstimulated, the mouth becomes like its own creature. Nice job. And it doesn't always seem to have logic behind how they're using it. So if you find the mouth and the brain are no longer connected, try to work either simpler skills like find it or give a break. Or, for example, make sure you're feeding flat palm. So your handsome guy, he's like, I almost got it, lady. So your handsome guy is not eating your fingers. So right here, flat palm. So I want to work a little bit with putting equipment on, and then also dive into a little bit more with some of those skills like you'd mentioned with your littles, and then the mouthiness. So definitely allowing for your babe to have an outlet would be really crucial. So I'm going to grab a toy real quick too. So for puppies, having the chance to practice appropriate play and mouthy and chewing and biting and chasing behavior can be a great way to take that natural drive and again give it an appropriate outlet. So this is what's called a flirt pole. So I know some of the babes were using it earlier. So he's maybe never seen it quite yet. So I'm letting him check it out. So it's got a toy at one end. It's a lovely stick with a rope. This one has a bungee rope. It does have a handle. So the reason you'd want to use the handle is if your puppy were to grab the toy and they're tugging and by accident you let go of the stick, it's going to bonk them. Or make sure too, since this is on a little bit of a bungee, is if your puppy were to let go and you're pulling, it shouldn't be a tuggy, but it might bonk you or bonk another. So I would highly recommend to use this on flooring, and there's a few different videos with other pups that have also used the flirt pole. But the benefit of giving your puppy an outlet that is dog-centric, and Mr. W says, why can't I do that toy? He loves it. So this will also be a great way to expend some physical and mental energy for your babe, while at the same time giving him an outlet that is appropriate versus chasing littles, versus going for the cat, versus going for your pants or whatever it might be. Though the benefit of these games too is that you can practice getting them excited and coming back from it. So if let's say your babe is constantly getting way too jazzed, it's more than likely been past their nap time or something's lacking. So I would highly recommend, so when you're playing, is typically I would say, are you ready? And that means we're about to do something. And then I'd say, go get it. And then while the puppy's chasing it, it again comes alive. I do want to make sure that when Mr. T does catch the critter, that he has the chance to be successful in getting the thing. I know Mr. W says, how dare you play without me? So now as he's caught the critter, if let's say letting go is hard for him because he doesn't have a drop it versus a give or an out, which means to let go of something, we don't want to say leave it because leave it's always mean they're off limits. So leave it items would be something that's dangerous. Poor Mr. W says, lady, I see you playing with that wild man and not me. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to toss a little something for Mr. W real quick. A couple little find it's for him. So let's say your babe does not have a way to let go of a toy yet because he hasn't practiced. My favorites, again, in the beginning are your find it behaviors. So we could go ready, Tucker, right into a little find it, make it fun to let go. Then we could start the game again once he's done chewing. And I could say, are you ready? He's like, hold up, lady, I did not finish chewing. So close. And then I'd say, go get it. And now my toy is alive. So with the flirt pole, a couple good rules. Keep the toy low, especially in the beginning, because if you raise it up, your puppy is more than likely going to jump up. Oh, he says, forgot to chew. But he's going to jump up. You heard a funny noise, Mr. W. And when he goes to jump, the problem there is he might land funny. So we want to make sure that if he is following this toy, because again, he likes it, ready, go get it, we want to keep it low. And I like to do swooshing, like either circles, or I might go into figure eights. So that way my puppy has more space to kind of move around. Kaboom, he's like tripping hazards. So you'll see too, puppies are still working on their finesse when it comes to their bodies. So I would highly recommend environments that have traction. So in here, this is a rubber floor, so there's a lot of really good grip for them, so they're not slipping and sliding. If you're playing with your puppy on hardwood tile or something similar, it doesn't have much traction, and it's a lot of times like puppies are learning how to walk or play or run on like an ice skating rink. And you could run the risk for injuries. So I would highly recommend traction. So obviously now we have snow and ice, so be careful if you're playing outdoors. But even the snow could be an option as long as it's not too hard and potentially could hurt their pads if it's much more like ice than is soft snow. So things to just think about. So Mr. Handsome doesn't quite have, again, that out and give behavior yet, whichever you want to call it, or release. There's a lot of slogans for letting go. So I like to practice. Ready? Tucker. Nice. I might feed him for that beautiful check-in. You could, to create some distance between him and the toy, do a lovely find it, and then you could play again. So I typically like to keep training and play sessions kind of short and sweet, because if we keep them too long, he says chewing is for losers. Oh my goodness, you got it? But if you make things so long that he gets so overstimulated, overtired, you're more than likely going to get a puppy that went from listening to not, because their capabilities of staying functional are not very big. And that's, again, typically normal for any dog that's learning something new. Even for us, it's better to do a few shorter sessions than to do like an hour's worth of practice. So ready? Tucker, go get it. So now my toy is alive. He's like, maybe. And we'll see if we want to chase it. He's like, lady, I'm already exhausted, but I'll do one more little romp. Ready? He's doing a good job. Go get that bad boy. He says, I'm going to get him. Good job. So I don't want to make it so challenging that he feels that it's a really hard game. So he should be able to grab the prize and play with it and shake it and do his usual fun doggy skills. But remember, this has really great value too, because now you can also practice revving the engine, putting the brakes on. And then that way you're almost getting him to get excited, come back from it. If it was always go, go, go until he finally crashes, then you might have a puppy too that learns that he has to do even more before he finally simmers down. And then that can be problematic. Right there, yes, I'm going to feed for that. Good job. So we're going to do a little bit with putting gear on, and then we're going to work a few other little skills after that as well. Ready? We'll do another little find it. So I'm just going to give him a little break from this toy. He says it was really fun. He did a really good job with his flirt pole. And again, guys, if you have any questions or concerns over any of the materials, do check in. I know we had the fun of Thanksgiving and a lot of madness with schedules and busy time with family. So if you didn't get to work on certain skills, don't worry. Ready? So we might get his attention, get a little sit. Yes, nice job. So again, I'm just breaking up his tidbits into itty bitty little pieces so we have more practice sake. So if Mr. T is not as comfortable, let's say for a lot of puppies, putting equipment on turns into like a fighting, bitey match, then that can be problematic for a lot of folks and their pups, because harnesses either start to create like a negative association, or they start to equal a game where like we try to eat it as we're putting it on. So some of my favorites is to have the equipment like hanging out with you and then work a few skills with your puppy. He's like, and I'm taking a break. So I'm going to go ahead and also capture these moments where Mr. T offers me some really nice relaxed behavior, because for a lot of puppies, we tend to only reinforce when we're in training practice mode and not throughout the rest of the day. But then also we forget to capture like all the behaviors that we'd like to have happen again. If your babe only got reinforced for sitting, what about all the great times that he was being really responsive, checking in for his name, maybe doing a great job not nibbling the Christmas tree or whatever it might be. So there's going to be moments where the more we feed for the good, the better we're going to do with some other skills down the road. So for Mr. Handsome, I was hoping he'd go and wrestle, but he says he's very lonely without his flirt pole. So with Mr. T, let's say again, if I'm going to show him the harness, I like to have it where it becomes more of like a target to check out. So, and then maybe I might have to go help Mr. W. He says he's very sad. So, but I think, oh, of course, now they're going to start wrestling. So with Mr. T's here, Mr. W. So with our handsome guy right here, I'm just feeding for some softness, but I'm going to see if I can sort of show him the harness, take a peek, see, yes. So for being nice and gentle and checking it out, I feed for that. What I like to do typically is, if your puppy has a hard time with things going over their head, is there are other brands that are a clip around the neck, so you don't have to constantly adjust it and loosen it and tighten it depending on your puppy's head and their neck size. For some, it can be much easier to have a clip around the tummy, which this one I know has two, and a clip around the neck, which this one doesn't. Some harnesses are, again, not adjustable here or here, which is, again, no big deal if it fits in for now. There are other brands like the Balanced Harness by Blue 9, so like the color blue and the number 9, and theirs is adjustable in all different points. So around the neck, around the chest, around the back, and around the tummy. Those are all adjustable. Tucker says he's got to get a drink. He's like, and maybe he's a little distracted. Ready, Tucker? And he might need to go out for a potty break. So we'll maybe do this harness, take a break, and then come back. So let's say, for example, in the beginning, if your puppy's a little bit unsure, I like to feed. As it goes over the little head, I might pull it off again, food goes away. So I'm making it where he's getting fed for putting his little sniffer through the, oh my goodness, chewing and breathing is hard. There we go. Through the little section. You got it, sir? I know it's hard when you're panting and you're trying to swallow snacks. So he's like, lady, I almost had it. Good job. So again, feed, and it kind of goes over his little head. If that's been going really beautiful, I would feed him several snacks while he's staying stationary with the gear on. What I like to do is then, let's say gear is halfway on, and he's like, this looks like it could be delicious. I plop food on the floor, and then I go ahead and I clip him around his little tummy and get him all situated. So if this was really awkward, I think he's grown since the last time he wore this, so we might actually have to do some adjusting. Here we go, sir. Let's do some find its. So let me just see if this is, again, oh yeah, he's definitely grown. What a cutie. So I hadn't tried this one last time, but I know we had technically that week off because of Thanksgiving. So I think this handsome boy is growing like a weed. So now he's like, my belly's gotten a little bit bigger. So obviously when putting gear on and off, you can see that I try to make it not as exciting to try to go for the equipment. I'll do some adjusting with the harness, and we'll do a little bit more with this. But Mr. T, I think, has to go out for a quick pee, and I need to probably get him some more water because chewing and breathing and walking, there's just so many skills to do all at once. We might get a little sip from him. Gorgeous. So we'll sneak him out for a potty. I'll adjust the gear. We'll try it on again, and we'll work a few more skills like loose leash walking and some more fun stuff. Good job, sir. I'll leave you a little find it right here, and then we'll do a little potty, and I'll adjust your equipment. What a good boy.